because his cold, domineering childhood friend never says what he really feels. The boy finally decides to break things off with him. But the moment he hears that, the usually confident childhood friend panics. Instead of immediately forgiving him, the boy tosses him an evaluation sheet and says, there will be a 1-month trial period, and if he fails the assessment, the relationship is over. Back in 2nd grade, Yun Rue moved with his parents to a house right next door to Chui He's. The first time he saw Chui He, Yun Rue was instantly drawn in by how handsome he was. When Chui He said, I don't need friends, Yun Rue misunderstood and thought the boy simply didn't have any friends. Quietly, he began planning how to become one. After all, Chui He was incredibly good-looking, and even the way he spoke seemed effortlessly cool. So from that very first meeting, Yun Rue's affection for him shot straight to 100%. In 3rd grade, they watched a horror movie together, and Yun Rue was so scared he trembled from head to toe, practically clinging to Chui He's arm. Chui He suddenly turned off the TV and held out his hand. Yun Rue, teary-eyed, stretched out his own hand while sniffing softly, expecting comfort. But Chui He wickedly dropped a cockroach into his palm. Yun Rue screamed, ran outside crying, and sobbed that he would never play with Xiao He again. Chui He had no idea his favorability score had just dropped by 5%. In middle school, Chui He joined the school swimming team, while Yun Rue started trying to make new friends. But one day after school in their first year, Chui He suddenly snatched Yun Rue's wallet and even threatened Yun Rue's new friend not to hang around him anymore. Then he casually said, you've got plenty of money, right? Go buy me a drink. Just like that, Yun Rue's feelings for him dropped another 5%. In high school, Yun Rue's grades were pretty good, and classmates often came to him for help with homework. Yet Chui He would always cut in and say, I was here first. Ironically, Chui He's grades were terrible. Yun Rue explained the same problems 3 times, and he still didn't get them. Chui He only lazily shrugged and said, my basics are bad. Because Chui He looked so fierce, the girls who wanted to talk to Yun Rue didn't dare approach anymore, and Yun Rue's favorability toward him dropped another 10%. On the day the college entrance exam results came out, Yun Rue looked at his own score and finally breathed a huge sigh of relief. Getting into Lee University shouldn't be a problem, but when he checked Chui He's results, every subject showed 0. Yun Rue panicked, wondering how that could happen. Did he break exam rules? The college entrance exam was a life-changing event, and serious violations could even lead to a 3-year ban. How would he ever find a job later? Thinking Chui He probably wasn't even checking his phone, Yun Rue rushed outside like crazy and accidentally bumped into him, looking up with teary eyes to ask if he was okay. Chui He, however, seemed completely calm and simply asked, did you not do well? Yun Rue wiped his tears and replied that he did okay, then asked what happened to Chui He's score. It turned out the score wasn't 0 at all. It had just been hidden because Chui He ranked in the top 50 in the entire province. Yun Rue almost cried again and asked why he kept it secret. Was his goal S University? Why didn't he tell him? Chui He didn't explain and only said, forget about that. Let's go watch a movie. He even placed his cap on Yun Rue's head. But Yun Rue immediately tried to pull it off in frustration. You knew I was worried about you this whole time, and you told me nothing. How long were you planning to keep messing with me? I've had enough. Yun Rue threw the hat to the ground, and his favorability toward Chui He finally dropped to 0. After exhausting all the feelings Yun Rue had for him, Chui He realized Yun Rue would never cling to him like before. Chui He could easily go to S University with his scores, while Yun Rue would attend a different school, meaning they might never see each other again. The boy had liked his childhood friend since he was little, but that friend never wanted him to make other friends. When Yun Rue discovered that Chui He had been hiding his exam results all along, he decided to cut ties. After the exams, Yun Rue successfully entered a university and chose to major in botany. The campus was huge, with many buildings and cafeterias, and the dorms for different departments were far apart. A month later, Yun Rue ran into Chui He in the East Campus cafeteria. He was surprised Chui He hadn't gone to S University after all. They looked at each other, but said nothing. Yun Rue opened his mouth to speak, then noticed the chicken leg from his tray had been eaten. He didn't even want to ask why anymore. After all, Chui He had deceived him for so long without even offering an apology. Yun Rui began making new friends and spent his days busy with club activities, gradually shifting his attention away from Chui He. Then one day, the club president confessed to him. The senior was handsome and gentle and told Yun Rui it was okay to take his time to answer. But as soon as the senior left, Chui He suddenly pinned Yun Rui against a wall and said he couldn't date that guy. Yun Rui was shocked to see him there and replied that who he dated had nothing to do with him. Chui He's eyes darkened and he asked how long Yun Rui had even known that guy. Only a month. Yun Rui was still angry and said he was already in college. Even his parents didn't control his dating life, so why should Chui He? Suddenly Chui He grabbed his chin and said that as long as Yun Rui was willing to date someone, it didn't matter who it was. The humiliating tone made Yun Rui tear up and he shoved Chui He away, saying he wished he had met that senior earlier. Chui He's lips split from the shove, yet he could only watch Yun Rui walk away unwillingly. A week later, Yun Rui visited a professor because he wanted to join a research project early. The professor happened to have a topic ready and said if Yun Rui joined the project, he would likely be recommended for graduate school at the same university. But Yun Rui still cared deeply about the field he originally wanted to study, partly because he hadn't been accepted into that major during the college entrance exam. The professor explained that a university focused mainly on science and engineering, so its plant science direction might not necessarily be stronger than other universities. Then he mentioned that a second-year student from the economics department had taken his elective course and also showed interest in the project. The student was excellent, with homework better than many major students. But since he wasn't from the department, he couldn't lead the project. If Yun Rui was willing to work with him, Yun Rui could be the team leader. Yun Rui was thrilled and said he just wanted a chance to participate. What he didn't expect was that the recommended student was the very senior who had confessed to him not long ago. Seeing their surprise, the professor happily assumed they already knew each other and pushed them outside to discuss things. Because this was the same senior Yun Rui had been avoiding, he suddenly didn't know how to face him, and the atmosphere became awkwardly quiet. Yun Rui worried the senior might have realized he'd been avoiding him, but the senior seemed to notice Yun Rui's discomfort and kindly said he would send the proposal later so they could discuss the work division. Grateful for the way out, Yun Rui quickly agreed. He couldn't understand why someone so kind and outstanding would like him. When Yun Rui asked if it was really okay for him to be the team leader as a freshman, the senior laughed and said there were only 2 people in the group anyway, so it didn't matter. And besides, he couldn't lead because he wasn't from that department. Yun Rui was almost moved to tears by how considerate he was. The senior never mentioned the confession again, probably to avoid embarrassing him. As they chatted and walked out of the building, Chui He suddenly appeared, his face dark with hostility, and told Yun Rui they needed to talk. Yun Rui was startled. Chui He glared at the senior, while the senior politely asked who he was. Before Yun Rui could answer, Chui He cut in and said, "Boyfriend?" Yun Rui froze. The senior looked pitifully at Yun Rui and said, "X," without letting Yun Rui explain. Chui He pulled Yun Rui into his arms and declared, "Current." Then he whispered in Yun Rui's ear that since Yun Rui had been avoiding the senior anyway, he might as well play along. The senior looked heartbroken and said he finally understood why Yun Rui had been avoiding him. Yun Rui hated lying and felt terrible, but the senior gracefully stepped away and said he wouldn't disturb them and would contact him later about the project. Just as Yun Rui tried to relax, Chui He leaned close again and asked if Yun Rui was teaming up with that guy. Yun Rui angrily asked if he had been following him, but Chui He said that didn't matter and asked if what he said earlier could be taken seriously. Yun Rui had liked Chui He since childhood. His handsome appearance and outstanding achievements were everything Yun Rui admired. No matter how cold Chui He acted, Yun Rui always followed him, afraid of being left behind. Now Chui He suddenly proposed they date. In the past, Yun Rui would have been overjoyed, but now he knew that even if they got together, it wouldn't be the relationship he wanted. Chui He had always been like this, doing whatever he wanted without warmth, even treating dating like a unilateral announcement rather than love. So Yun Rui asked directly, "Do you really want to date me?" Chui He answered yes without hesitation. Yun Rui remained calm and said he would give him a 1-month trial period. And if Chui failed the evaluation, they would break up peacefully. After saying that, Yun Rui walked away, leaving Chui standing there. He had thrown the challenge out, but he still hadn't figured out what the evaluation would actually test. Just then his roommate returned and asked why he was there when he was supposed to meet Professor Zhang about the project. The roommate handed him a bottle of yogurt, while another roommate in a basketball jersey leaned in curiously and asked, "Wait, a relationship KPI? What's going on here?" Yun Rui blushed and quickly closed his notebook, muttering that it was just a research topic, something related to psychology. The roommate asked if he had a hypothetical scenario, and Yun Rui awkwardly began with, "So, I have a friend." After listening, the roommate immediately advised him not to look for a boyfriend in the trash and warned him to be careful of controlling people. If he broke up now, it would still be in time. Flustered, Yun Rui tried to defend Chui He, saying he wasn't trash, just someone who might not be suited for a relationship, though he definitely had some advantages, like being ridiculously handsome. One roommate smirked and asked if he thought there was still room to train him. Yun Rui pouted and said they could try, and if it didn't work out, they would just end it. Another roommate popped his head over and suggested that Yun Rui should move toward the kind of relationship he actually wanted. Thinking seriously, Yun Rui began imagining possibilities. A domineering CEO type? No, that sounded way too greasy. A forced contract relationship? No, that sounded terrifying. A naturally sweet puppy-like boyfriend? That one actually sounded pretty good. The more he thought about it, the redder his face became, and he muttered that he probably knew what to write now. Meanwhile, the cold junior with 8-pack abs secretly had his heart set on his childhood friend. After years of stubborn silence, seeing his childhood friend being confessed to by someone else finally pushed him over the edge. But to his surprise, that childhood friend decided to evaluate him first, saying he could only become his boyfriend if he passed the test. Strangely enough, that didn't ruin Chui He's mood at all. He casually broke the school swimming team's record the same day, when he overheard some girls whispering about whether they should pursue him. Chui He answered with a cold face, saying he already had a partner, leaving the boys nearby jealous enough to mutter that he probably had more than one. Chui He shot them a warning glare that scared them into silence. When a friend asked if he said that on purpose, Chui He simply replied that he had no reason to lie. After returning to the dorm, Chui He took a shower and opened his locker, where he saw Yun Rui's message. It was the evaluation sheet. The sheet listed 5 categories: daily sharing, attentiveness, romantic sense, relationship attitude, and intimacy experience. Scores would be updated irregularly. Each category had a maximum limit, and after 30 days, if the total score was below 80, they would break up peacefully. Meanwhile, Yun Rui's roommates were eating burgers when they spotted Chui He next to Yun Rui and whispered that he must be that rumored control freak, though they admitted he was handsome and clearly Yun Rui's type. Yun Rui kept a certain distance from Chui He and complained that Chui He called him out without even saying where they were going. "You saw the evaluation sheet I sent. Don't you have anything to say?" Chui He walked quickly, so Yun Rui walked quickly too. Chui He slowed down, and Yun Rui slowed down as well. Suddenly Chui He grabbed Yun Rui's hand. Yun Rui instantly turned red and whispered that everyone was looking and told him to let go, trying to pull away, but Chui He finally spoke, saying that if Yun Rui felt embarrassed, then he shouldn't have written something like that, and maybe he should change it. Yun Rui thought Chui He didn't want to do it and immediately got stubborn, asking if he thought he would back down, telling him not to underestimate him. Yun Rui insisted that since they were adults, there was nothing embarrassing about it, and if Chui He didn't want to participate, he should just say so. Chui He held Yun Rui's hand tightly and stared straight at him. From the moment the boy first saw his childhood friend, he had already fallen deeply, loving him enough to accept punishment together. Chui He had always been aloof growing up, and Yun Rui was the only friend he ever had. Once he made a classmate cry after hitting him, and when the teacher asked why, Chui He only replied with 3 words. He insulted someone. The teacher demanded an apology, but Chui He refused to respond. Yun Rui ran in holding a broom and nervously said he could apologize on Chui He's behalf. The boy who had been hit was furious and accused Yun Rui of siding with him. Chui He ended up punching him again, making the teacher even angrier. Yun Rui kept trying to explain that things weren't like that, but the teacher snapped and told him to stop defending Chui. He would have to stand punishment with him. Yun Rui nodded pitifully, and in the end, both of them stood outside as punishment, and their parents were even called. When they were alone, Yun Rui softly told him not to be so impulsive next time because hitting people was wrong. Chui he awkwardly asked why Yun Rui had defended him, and Yun Rui smiled sweetly, saying he just didn't want Chui he to stand there alone. Remembering that moment, Chui he looked at Yun Rui with resentment. Back then, Yun Rui never left his side no matter what, yet now he seemed distant and indifferent. Chui he wondered if Yun Rui had tried to cut ties because he had met someone better, and if he hadn't stopped it, Yun Rui might really have accepted that senior's confession. Suddenly, someone behind them complained that the tall guy in front was blocking the view and should sit farther back. So Chui he slid down in his seat and ended up leaning on Yun Rui's shoulder and falling asleep. Yun Rui stopped eating popcorn and realized Chui he had fallen asleep during the movie. He had expected Chui he to choose a horror film he liked, but instead he chose a comedy Yun Rui liked, which meant he had actually thought about the date. Yun Rui remembered his roommate's advice that if he suddenly hugged or kissed Chui he looked calm or even disgusted while pushing him away, that would mean he definitely didn't like him. Yun Rui had never been brave enough to try before because he assumed Chui he had no feelings like that, but now he felt tempted. If he kissed him, what reaction would he get? After finally gathering the courage to lean closer, his rational mind pulled him back, telling him that doing something like that in public wasn't appropriate. So he decided to just quietly watch the movie. Suddenly his hand was grabbed firmly, and the popcorn he had just picked up was taken and eaten by Chui he. Yun Rui's face instantly turned red, and he wondered if Chui he had only done that because he was too lazy to wash his hands. When Chui he reached over again, Yun Rui grabbed his hand and thought there was no reason his hand should be used like that. So he directly ate the popcorn from Chui he's hand, accidentally biting his finger. Yun Rui panicked and apologized, offering to wipe it. But Chui he simply dipped his hand back into the popcorn bucket and stirred it around, leaving Yun Rui completely confused. Chui he then picked up a piece of popcorn and said that now Yun Rui had to take responsibility and eat it. Embarrassed, Yun Rui said he would handle it himself. But Chui he pushed the popcorn into his mouth and started eating happily. Yun Rui felt a bit speechless, wondering if Chui he really wasn't bothered by the saliva at all, and thought he should eat less in case the wound became inflamed. After leaving the theater, Yun Rui secretly glanced at Chui he and wondered why he was the only one feeling awkward while Chui he acted so natural about everything. He decided to start testing the daily sharing category and asked what Chui he had been busy with lately. But Chui he's answer was simply studying, games, life, which meant the daily sharing score remained 0. Yun Rui then moved onto the attentiveness category and asked what they should eat for lunch. But Chui he just replied that he would know later. Yun Rui felt their interaction was strangely uninteresting until Chui he suddenly stopped and pushed open a door. Yun Rui thought it was a private place, but Chui he calmly said he lived there. Yun Rui hurried after him and asked if he didn't live in the dorm because the rent there must be expensive. Chui he casually replied that he bought the place, explaining it was a cheap auction property and had just been renovated earlier that year, so the price was reasonable and it wouldn't lose value if he sold it later. Yun Rui was stunned and asked if he really meant he bought the apartment. Chui he explained that he had sold a game. Yun Rui suddenly remembered that back in high school, whenever he went to Chui he's house to do homework, he often saw him typing at the computer, sometimes playing games and sometimes chatting with people. Yun Rui once asked what was wrong with the computer, because the screen sometimes turned black and showed lines of English text, and Chui he had casually said it was just part of a game and nothing to worry about. He never explained further, and Yun Rui never asked more. One day after finishing homework, Yun Rui noticed Chui he still playing and complained about why he hadn't started his homework yet. Chui he said he was testing something, but Yun Rui didn't believe him and insisted he was just playing games. Reaching over to grab the mouse, Chui he dodged it, and Yun Rui accidentally fell on top of him. When Chui he asked what he was trying to do, Yun Rui couldn't answer and finally blushed while telling him to finish his homework. Chui he shook his phone and said if Yun Rue wanted to take his phone, then he would have to give him his own. Yun Rue snatched His phone and honestly handed over his own. But then he noticed the phone's wallpaper was a sunflower photo he had taken himself. At that moment, Yun Rue realized his feelings for Xiao he had long surpassed friendship. Every little action of he could affect his emotions. And even something as simple as keeping a photo Yun Rue had taken made him happy. Even though Yun Rue knew he didn't feel that way and probably wouldn't give up his future plans for him. He was still surprised when he appeared at the same university. Yun Rue asked if he had really developed a game with a team and sold it to buy the apartment. He clarified that it wasn't a solo project. There were 3 people in the team, and they split the earnings according to contribution. When Yun Rue asked who the teammates were, he said they met online and both of them also attended the same university. Hearing that made Yun Rue feel strangely disappointed because it meant he had chosen the university for that reason, which actually sounded exactly like something he would do. Yun Rue had always admired he since childhood because he could easily accomplish things that were difficult for him. So when He's grades once seemed worse than his own, Yun Rue had secretly felt happy because it meant he could help him for once. But he later realized he had been hiding his real ability and had already run far ahead. He never explained any of that and didn't even seem worried that they might not end up at the same university. The more Yun Rue thought about it, the angrier he became, realizing that in his future plans there might never have been a place for him. Yun Rue told himself he liked this university anyway and that the other one suited he better, trying to convince himself of that. With a small flicker of hope, Yun Rue asked if his earlier bad grades were because he had been busy developing the game and only improved later when he started studying seriously. He remained silent, and Yun Rue assumed that must be the case. Yun Rue admitted he had thought he was intentionally manipulating his exam scores and even got angry at him back then. Asking why he didn't explain, he awkwardly turned his head away and said he simply didn't think an explanation was necessary. That answer only made Yun Rue angrier. He complained that he never shared anything about himself. Even though they spent time together every day, Yun Rue didn't know he had been making a game, and he didn't know he had even bought a house. Yun Rue himself didn't understand why he was so upset, because he had always been like this. Yet it still made him angry. Did he think none of this had anything to do with him, and therefore there was no need to tell him? The more Yun Rue thought about it, the more furious he became, realizing that he had always kept him outside of his own world, as if Yun Rue had never really been that important to him. Yun Rue's frustration kept building until he finally snapped and said he was going back to school. He didn't understand what had just happened and quickly grabbed his arm, telling him to wait because they hadn't even eaten yet. Yun Rue shook him off stubbornly and said his mood was terrible and he needed to calm down. He could only watch as he left. Yun Rue ran all the way to the bus stop and only then realized he had rushed out wearing his house slippers. His irritation made his tooth start hurting again, and when he looked up he noticed a dental clinic nearby. The dentist examined him and explained that it was a wisdom tooth growing close to the nerve, which made the surgery more difficult and carried some risk. If the nerve were damaged during extraction, it could become a serious problem. Yu Rue asked nervously what might happen, and the doctor explained the possible complications, but quickly reassured him that the probability was extremely small. Seeing how worried he looked, the doctor asked whether anyone had come with him. Yu Rue felt a little lonely admitting he had come alone, since he was already there and had managed to get an appointment with that doctor. He sat in the waiting area and played a puzzle game on his phone. Suddenly, he received a message from he asking where he was. Yu Rue honestly typed that he was at the hospital, then hesitated and erased the part about his tooth problem, deciding there was no need to tell him. In the end, he simply replied that he was accompanying a roommate to see a doctor. The boy had loved his childhood friend for years, yet when that friend finally suggested they date, he handed him an evaluation sheet instead. Now Yu Rue kept trying to find chances to add points to H's score, but He seemed completely unaware of romance. Frustrated, Yu Rue ended up running out alone to get his tooth pulled. He was already nervous when a small boy nearby suddenly spoke to him, asking if he had come alone for the dental appointment. Yu Rue awkwardly scratched his head and said he was fine by himself and didn't want to trouble anyone else. The little boy looked frightened and asked if pulling teeth hurt. Yu Rue originally wanted to comfort him by saying it would only take a few minutes and wouldn't hurt much. But what came out instead was the honest truth. It hurt a lot. He even started describing how the gum would be cut open, the tooth pried out, and the drill would keep buzzing inside the mouth. The little boy burst into tears, and Yu Rue hurriedly tried to fix the situation, explaining that anesthesia would be used. Just then his number was called over the speaker, asking patient number 20, Yun Rue, to come to the oral surgery room. The boy suddenly stopped crying and instead encouraged him to go, wishing him luck. Yun Rue turned around and quietly gave himself a pep talk before walking in. After the surgery, his face swelled up noticeably, and once the anesthesia wore off, the pain became intense. Back at school, his friend Hong Shui patted his shoulder in admiration and said it was impressive that he had gone through dental surgery alone because she wouldn't have dared to do that. Yun Rue puffed up with pride and said going to the hospital alone was the first step toward true adulthood. Still, Hong Shui felt something seemed strange because Yun Rue had been emphasizing independence a lot lately, as if something had happened to him. While Yun Rue was mumbling that it would be great if healing could happen faster, a voice suddenly startled him by asking if he had gone to pull a tooth. Looking up, he found himself staring straight into Chui's eyes. Before Yun Rue could speak, Chui grabbed his wrist and told him to come to his place because there was a fridge there for ice. Yun Rue was dragged out of the classroom protesting that he was fine staying there. But when he tried to hold the door handle, Chui, he simply lifted him over his shoulder and carried him away. In the end, Yun Rue obediently followed behind him. He had hoped pulling the tooth would distract him from his emotions. But now both his heart and his body hurt, doubling the misery. Chui suddenly stopped, and Yun Rue bumped into him. That only made him feel more wronged. Chui stared at him for a long moment before finally asking why he went to pull his tooth without telling him. Yun Rue immediately broke down and shouted that Chui. He never told him anything either. Chui got angry too and replied that at least he hadn't lied. Yun Rue froze because he realized he had just made the same mistake. He clenched his fists and apologized, promising he wouldn't do that again. Chui seemed surprised by the apology and, after a moment, said that if Yun Rue ever wanted to know something in the future, he could just ask directly, because he genuinely didn't know which things he should share and which ones he shouldn't. Yun Rue hadn't expected that response and secretly felt the evaluation sheet might actually be working, because the stubborn childhood friend never expressed his feelings. The boy had nearly chosen to leave him behind. Only when that happened did the proud childhood friend panic and suggest dating, leading the boy to create a relationship evaluation form. Seeing Chui, he softened his attitude. Yun Rue followed him back to the apartment, still wearing Chui's clothes. He asked about the apartment Chui he had mentioned before, the one purchased through auction, wondering what had happened to the previous owner. Chui came out of the bathroom drying his hair and casually explained that the former owner had been a gambler who ended up in debt and a death had occurred, which was why the price was cheap. Yun Rue's face looked even worse than crying when he heard that someone had died there. Chui calmly clarified that it was a suicide and not anything supernatural, then pressed a matcha ice bar against Yun Rue's cheek and added that the house had been fully renovated and the layout changed. Even though Yun Rue tried to act calm, he couldn't help feeling scared. Chui noticed the fear and asked about it, but Yun Rue forced a smile and insisted he believed in science as a modern young man. The moment he turned on the television, however, a horror movie started playing with a line about a haunted house built on an old burial ground. That single sentence made Yun Rue scream, instantly switching off the TV and jumping onto the sofa beside Chui while muttering that it was all fake. Chui noticed his body still trembling and said he hadn't planned to tell him earlier, but since Yun Rue asked, then continued speaking calmly, which ironically earned him some points in the daily sharing category. To show attentiveness, Chui even prepared a separate room for Yun Rue in case he ever wanted to stay over. Yun Rue felt touched for a moment, though fear still dominated, and he quickly said he would rather stay in the dorm because it was more convenient. Chui sighed with a headache and suggested he might just rent another place instead. Yun Rui hurried to explain that he wasn't, rejecting the apartment, and simply felt uncomfortable, living there for free. Chui asked suspiciously whether he was actually afraid, and Yun Rui turned his head away while insisting there was nothing to fear. Since Yun Rui insisted so stubbornly, he concluded the discussion by telling him to stay anyway and went to prepare the bed. Yun Rui nearly cried at his own stubborn words because now he had no way to refuse. That night while trying to sleep, Yun Rui quietly recited patriotic slogans under his breath to calm himself. When the door suddenly opened, his fear instantly reached its peak. He didn't dare move until he heard footsteps approaching, then turned his head and found Chui standing there. Yun Rui screamed and asked why he was there, but Chui simply reminded him not to shout so loudly because his tooth wound hadn't healed yet. Yun Rui finally relaxed and asked what he needed. Chui leaned closer and suggested that Yun Rui sleep in his room instead. Yun Rui froze because that room only had one bed, making him wonder if Chui was inviting him to share it. Yun Rui had always been afraid of ghosts since childhood, yet his courage mysteriously increased whenever Chui was involved. When they were younger and Yun Rui couldn't sleep after watching horror movies, he would bring his pillow and timidly ask if he could sleep beside him. Chui always generously gave him half the bed, and Yun Rui would lie down with a relieved smile. Sometimes Chui even reminded him it was already 9:30 and time to sleep. Yun Rui once asked if ghosts really existed, and Chui lazily replied that even if ghosts did exist, they wouldn't come looking for him. That only made Yun Rui more scared, because he suddenly worried that the animals and plants he had eaten might turn into ghosts. Chui turned over and told him that if he praised them while eating, they wouldn't bother him. Yun Rui's eyes lit up, and he asked what Chui would do since he always complained about food. Chui rolled his eyes and said he wasn't even dead yet, so there was no reason to cry. Yun Rui ended up crying even harder and clinging to him as if they were facing death together. Thinking about those memories now still made Yun Rui feel embarrassed. Chui suddenly leaned close to his ear and asked if he needed help. Yun Rui's face flushed, wondering what he meant, but Chui simply suggested switching positions because Yun Rui preferred sleeping against the wall. Yun Rui was surprised that he remembered something like that and secretly added a few points to Chui's score. Unfortunately, Chui ruined the moment by explaining that it was only because Yun Rui slept badly and might fall off the bed otherwise. Yun Rui turned to face the wall speechlessly. The next morning, Yun Rui woke up yawning and saw Chui busy in the kitchen. When he asked why he woke up so early, Chui said if he didn't hurry, Yun Rui would be late for class. Yun Rui was shocked that Chui even knew about his morning class. Suddenly, Chui held Yun Rui's chin and told him to open his mouth so he could check the extraction site, asking if it still hurt. Yun Rui complained repeatedly about the pain. Chui told him that when he went to remove the stitches, he should also check the wisdom tooth above, because it might need to be extracted too. Yun Rui argued that if it wasn't inflamed, there was no need to remove it, but Chui insisted he should do it next month. When Yun Rui asked why, Chui stared at him seriously and said it would make kissing inconvenient otherwise. Yun Rui nearly choked on his breakfast egg at that statement and had to gulp down water before jumping up and running away in embarrassment. Behind him, Chui shouted that he had written a small scoring program for the evaluation sheet and that Yun Rui could use it from now on. Yun Rui waved his phone without daring to turn around and said he understood. When Yun Rui returned to the dorm instead of staying overnight, his roommates were confused because they thought he had already moved out like the guy in the next bed. Yun Rui quickly made up an excuse, saying that when he had early classes, he would need to wake up 20 minutes earlier if he stayed there. His roommate looked surprised and said that meant his boyfriend's place was pretty close. Yun Rui hugged his pillow and blushed, telling them not to call him that because it sounded embarrassing. The two roommates then started discussing the senior Dong Su, wondering whether the person he liked was male or female. One guessed it must be a girl because they heard he already had a boyfriend. Yun Rui was completely confused and asked how they knew that. The roommate explained that a few days ago, while visiting the business school building, she accidentally saw senior Dong Su rejecting a girl. He had calmly told her that he already liked someone and asked her not to keep bothering him. The girl refused to accept, that and angrily said that his parents would never allow him to be with that person anyway, reminding him that their families even had a marriage agreement. Dongsu's expression didn't change at all. He simply replied that it was nothing more than a verbal promise made by their elders and that he had never agreed to it himself. The girl nearly lost control and argued that the person he liked already had a boyfriend, so why couldn't he just accept her instead? Dongsu remained unmoved and answered plainly that he had no interest in her. Hearing this story made Yun Rui panic a little. Could the person Dongsu was talking about actually be him? Luckily, he had already rejected the senior earlier. Someone as kind and outstanding as Dongsu shouldn't waste his time on him. Yun Rui finally relaxed a bit. Since leaving Chui's place that morning, he hadn't seen him again. When he was around Chui, he felt so embarrassed he wanted to run away. But when he didn't see him, he somehow felt uneasy too. Thinking about how he couldn't kiss because of the tooth extraction made him regret choosing the very first day of their trial relationship to pull a tooth. Then he remembered he still hadn't given Chui a score yet. Maybe he should add a few more points? After thinking about it, he decided to wait until next time and see how Chui behaved. At that moment, Chui was busy testing a horror game, still trying to fix a few bugs. To capture the atmosphere properly, he needed to watch horror movies for reference. But watching alone felt boring. Then he suddenly received the evaluation sheet Yun Rui had sent earlier. His eyes paused on the category labeled Intimate Experience, where the score was still 0. That empty score somehow looked particularly irritating. Meanwhile, during Friday morning's swimming class, Yun Rui couldn't enter the water because of his tooth extraction, so the teacher asked him to stand aside and observe. In the first semester, the teacher wasn't too strict, as long as students could swim 30 meters using breaststroke. With smooth technique, they would receive full marks. In the second semester, the requirements would become tougher, with 100 meters required to pass and a high score, requiring completion within 90 seconds. Hearing this made Yun Rui think of Chui, because with Chui's ability, he could definitely get full marks easily. Thinking back, it was actually Chui who had taught him how to swim when they were younger. At that time, Yun Rui only cared about the water slides, but Chui insisted that he learn swimming first. Then he suddenly let go of Yun Rui's hand in the pool, making Yun Rui scream in panic. Chui looked helpless and explained that Yun Rui needed to let his body float instead of sinking. He suggested starting with floating practice. Yun Rui gasped for breath and refused, insisting he would drown because the experience had just scared him to death. Chui simply wrapped an arm around his neck and told him that the more he feared water, the harder it would be to learn, assuring him that if he swam boldly, he would catch him. Under Chui's guidance, Yun Rui finally managed to float, feeling amazed as if he were a mermaid. And that very day, he learned how to swim in only half a day. Suddenly, Yun Rui heard cheers coming from the next lane along with Chui's name. Many students gathered around excitedly, saying his speed looked almost professional. Yun Rui also walked over to watch and noticed Chui seemed slightly slower than before, wondering if he wasn't in his best condition today. Seeing the class monitor take the lead, Yun Rui quickly started cheering for Chui. When Chui noticed Yun Rui watching, he suddenly accelerated and overtook the monitor, finishing first. After reaching the end, Chui hurriedly removed his goggles and looked toward Yun Rui. The monitor stared at him with resentment and complained that Chui had promised to give him some face because his girlfriend was watching. Chui ignored him completely. When Chui returned to the locker room, Yun Rui followed him and said he knew Chui. He would come out after 10 minutes of showering. Chui instead asked whether Yun Rui had entered the water. Yun Rui scratched his head and said he had asked the teacher for leave. Then his eyes accidentally fell on Chui's 8-pack abs and he froze, blurting out that his muscles looked even stronger than before. Chui immediately caught the hand Yun Rui had stretched out and asked him to explain the scoring criteria, wondering whether muscles could earn points. Yun Rui stared at those abs guiltily and insisted that he didn't really care about appearance that much and cared more about personality and behavior. Chui suddenly looked very serious and asked what exactly he needed to do to get a perfect score. Yun Rui had always been afraid of pain, yet he couldn't resist being fascinated by Chui's physique.